you ever watch Power Rangers? And I was like, dude, let me just tell you, I would record it on a VHS tape.
There is a chip in my childhood TV from where I poked it with the poker from the fireplace because I was beating Megatron or whoever that fuck that.
McDonald's had the little belt, and you could go get the belt with the interchangeable coin.
So, Sean, let me ask you something. If you're going to go with King Kong or Godzilla, which one is in your fucking corner, man?
Oh, King Kong. King Kong beats Godzilla every
because
time.
Peter Jackson,
he's got the little arms, and he can just fall over.
He has lightning coming out of his mouth, Sean.
That's true.
Have you seen Godzilla vs. Kong? Kong's got a shield and an axe, and just like
King Kong bleeds.
He's got a fucking axe? Oh yeah. Shit, dude. When did this happen?
Oh, Godzilla vs. Kong.
See, it's all Power Rangers. It comes back to Power Rangers again.
Back to Power Rangers.
In the new one, he's got like this bionic arm, so he can punch harder. I mean, it's like, these are the movies that test the souls in
and also, if we didn't have King Kong, we would never have Lord of the Rings because Peter Jackson said that King Kong made him want to make movies. So, boom.
I'm just going to let you know, Sean, sometimes people who have little arms, it sucks, okay? It's hard for us, okay?
Godzilla can't even reach the top shelf. I don't know what you're talking about. And on that note, welcome to another episode of Season 5 of 3.5 Gentlemen, the podcast, where 3 of the 4 hosts provide a refined and intellectual analysis of movies from our private collections, while one of us tries desperately to keep up. We'll let you decide which host is which, but for now, my name is Sean, and with me, as always, smashing through the city, are my co-hosts, Jeremiah.
Go Power Rangers, bitches.
Eddie.
Mommy, look, dinosaurs.
And Brandon.
We call him Gojira. That was my Ken Watanabe, and I think it was fucking spot on.
That was pretty good.
That was a very good Ken Watanabe.
That was really fucking good, actually.
With Season 5, we've been changing things up a bit. We'll still be picking movies I think will be fun to talk about. But for this season, we've been playing loose version of 6 Degrees, where each host chooses their film based off a previous one, as long as the movie shares an actor, actress, composer, director, or writer.
As with every review we give, our goal is to answer one simple question: how many drinks does it take to get through the film that we just watched? Now, at the end of the podcast, we'll rate the movie based on the scale of 0 to 5. 0 being a perfect film that you can watch stone cold sober, and 5 being sort of the film that makes you feel like you're being swallowed whole by a mudo who has woken up after millions of years.
See, it's mucho. It's actually an acronym.
Yeah, what does it say? Mutants, Ninja Turtles?
Something like that.
Okay. Works. Anyway, listen, last week Jeremiah gave us a look at a feel-good love story about a woman who can't age and therefore has to watch all of the people she cares about grow old and die around her with Age of Adeline. And since Sean has the next pick, Sean, you get to tell us what we've got decimating the city for tonight.
Massive unidentified terrestrial organism. Sorry.
Yeah,
that's it, right?
That's
unidentified.
Right here. That's okay.
And the organization.
I got my regret tattoo right here too.
The organization that follows these creatures is called Monarch. And just so
that's
you know,
butterfly.
Because that's going to be a very big part of my review and how wonderful this fits into a universe.
Well, he says this movie's wonderful, everybody. There it is.
Of course, Sean
I did not
knows.
say that.
Of course, Sean knows.
I said how it fits wonderfully. Not that the movie is wonderful. Do not parse my words. Do not parse my words.
Whoever's doing the script, they keep messing up with the names of who's supposed to read and what.
Eddie, tell us why you chose this movie.
Yeah, this is the second time I chose the movie that I did not choose.
So I chose Godzilla for a couple of reasons. The first reason was because I grew up with monster movies. My grandfather was a huge Harryhausen fan, and Harryhausen used to do all of the creature effects like a pre-Stan Winston kind of guy. And I grew up with King Kong, 1933, Fay Ray. I grew up with Mothra, and I grew up with them, and I grew up with all these creature feature movies. And so special king monsters have a special place in my heart. And so when we kind of I got backed into a little bit of a rut here with Age of Adeline in that I didn't really like any of the actors' movies. I called a little bit of an audible and went on a very thin line with an actor named Hiro Kanawaga. And I actually like this actor very much. But he plays a very small role in Age of Adeline, very small role in Godzilla. But at the same time, It was kind of exciting to have this movie, which is, I would say, a reimagining of the 1954 classic, like a refresh into the 21st century or whatever century we're in, 22nd, whatever century
we're in the 21st century,
with a kit with some really great actors. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's still Godzilla destroys city and fights other Muto. But at the end of the day, I think this is a respectable requel, as you say, Brandon, of a 1954 classic.
Absolutely.
Fucking movie.
So 2014's Godzilla is a, as Sean said, requel to the infamous Japanese monster movie franchise. This version of the story follows Aaron Taylor Johnson's Ford Brody, a soldier who must leave his wife and son to go help the powers that be find a way to stop the attacks of two Mutos, which, Eddie, stands for Massive Unidentified Terrestrial Organism. However, it becomes clear early on that human power won't be enough, and they will need to rely on Godzilla, the king of the monsters, to save the day. In addition to Taylor Johnson, this action-adventure thriller stars Ken Watanabe, Bryan Cranston, and Elizabeth Olsen. Godzilla has earned an IMDb rating of 6.4 out of 10 and has a Rotten Tomatoes score of 76% with the critics and an audience score of 66%.
That's interesting. Yeah, the audience are more like, nah. Yeah. The critics are more about this one.
Which is funny because this was like Gareth Edwards' breakout, right?
I didn't even say that.
I remember when this came out in 2014, everyone was talking about Gareth Edwards and how he revolutionized monster movie making. And this was like the first, like, remember when when Batman Begins came out? And all of a sudden, Batman had some dignity, and he was like a good, finally, it was a good version of it. This kind of was the same thing. I mean, honestly, it does not have a wide appeal like Batman, but at the same time, it was the first respectable version in a really long time. As with every movie that we review, we try to pair our selection with a cocktail that we hope will enhance the viewing experience. Ed, would you take us through the cocktail, please?
King of Monsters is my name, please, today.
King of Monsters.
To celebrate the giant lizard saving the day, spoiler alert, we're drinking the Godzilla. For this cocktail, you will need to muddle a sliced kiwi in the cocktail shaker until the kiwi is a smooth pulp. Then you will need to fill the shaker with ice, 2 ounces of vodka, 1 ounce of passion fruit liqueur, a half ounce each of lime juice, simple syrup, and blue curacao. Next up, you're going to need to strain the drink into a chilled glass with ice and sit back, sip your cocktail. Enjoy a lizard battling a few giant mosquitoes.
They're mind flayers. They're mind flayers.
Mind flayers.
Sorry, mind flare. It literally. Did anybody else think
better.
Design was the exact same as Stranger Things, which I think Stranger Things came after this.
So
mind
that
flare.
Design was a
That's what you meant by that. Okay.
The movies from the 1950s and 60s. So just so you know, Stranger Things is a big ripoff of everything.
It's a good point, actually. It's a very good point.
All right, so I do want to I want to start off with have you seen this before now, and how deep into this franchise have you gotten? Because this kind of started in 2005 with King Kong, and then I want to say, I don't know the dates, but then it was Kong Skull Island.
Yeah.
And then this movie, or vice versa. I think one came first, and then we had kind of a series of really close set ones: Godzilla, King of the Monsters, and then Godzilla versus Kong, and then
Alien versus
the newest
Predator.
one, which is
We're just kidding. Kidding.
No, the new one, which is the New Empire, Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire. So
Dan Stevenson's in that movie, by the way.
There has been quite a few of these. And this franchise has made buckets of money. So I asked, actually offline, I asked Jeremiah, and now I'll ask the group, can you think of a reason that this franchise has made as much money as it has? Because we're talking gobs of money.
I told you it's nostalgia, man. It's like seriously, like we're talking about Power Rangers off mic and everything, and people think about this as well as Godzilla, and it brings them back. I don't know, that Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, like lifestyle and shit like that. And Godzilla, I mean, we think about the Godzilla in 1998.
You ask what keeps this franchise going. It's the same reason that Marvel keeps going. And I know this is going to hurt a lot of Marvel people's feelings, you guys, but ultimately, I think that a lot of people go to the cinema, whether that be at the home or the theater or whatever, and they love the idea of watching destruction on a mass level, right? We love to watch things blow up.
Love it.
Right? And it's been established
Makes
that
me happy.
I don't like that. I don't like big balls of burning fire. I just think that it's silly. But I do think if we're looking at it from just an escapist level, I think people love the idea of sitting back in a controlled environment and watching mass destruction. And that's what Godzilla really is established on.
Yeah, Ronald Emmerich has made a career on it with 2012 and was Day After Tomorrow and all those type of movies. Where
And Godzilla.
No, I mean it's true, but then you got it on the other end. You've got the Bruckheimer, you've got the what's his name that go for it from the production, and the other more of the I guess the terrestrial fighting line of things. So you got the Bruckheimer big budget films and the Michael Bay's. That's what I was thinking of, right? And so again, there are so many people who love this mass destruction. I know that you guys are definitely three of them, right? But I do think that that's really what it comes down to. I don't even think it comes down to the science fiction aspect or the extraterrestrial aspect. I think it comes down to the fact of just watching demolition in a controlled environment with the knowledge that this is so out of realm of possibility, right? We're watching a fucking lizard blow up a city. And in that sense, we go, that's not going to happen. So I can sit back and I can enjoy that. Right. And I think it's interesting. Right. I really do. I think that sociologically and anthropologically, I think it's fascinating that these movies are the ones that are being requeled and being sequeled so damn much.
Brandon, I actually think also too, it's like the whole like theme of like man versus nature, society versus nature, and like somehow like nature is always going to win. And sometimes we deserve its wrath, and so sometimes there's just like this little thing about that where you're like, you just sit back and you're just like, fuck. The world's going to shits right now. I'm going to watch this right now.
Nature's going to help us.
Godzilla's saving. Godzilla's also kind of, saving us, right? Godzilla's been here a long time ago. It's this other mind flare, mosquito that came out of nowhere. That's just like, what the hell?
He gets helped by Mothra later on in the series, just so you know. He has friends, bro. Godzilla has friends.
We don't want to mess with
Are
Godzilla
they all just hanging out under the
2.0.
water? They're just all under the ocean.
Oh, no. No, I'm telling you. Okay.
This is a cool story. This is cool
and I didn't want to get
here.
into this because it's not in
tell
this
us,
movie,
Sean.
but
Geek
I will
out,
give you
please.
a little, I'll give you a little detail. So basically, there is radioactive portals that are created by the energy of all these mutos, and they live in like a parallel universe that they break through. What? And Godzilla's, and this is all from Monarch Legacy of Monsters on Apple Plus, wonderful show starring Kurt Russell and Wyatt Russell. And basically they discover that these creatures break through into our universe, essentially our world, and Godzilla's job is to protect our world from these monsters and to wrangle them back into their into their environments.
It's like Journey to the Center of the Earth, man. Like there's a whole nother
sublayer.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. In Earth or something like that.
I'm just it's like and so later in the franchise, you asked. Don't be asking me questions.
Fascinated. Yeah. It's like, but here's my thing: if a writer is but listen, but here, I'm talking after. Okay, fine, I got you. Tell us about the sublayer.
So basically, Godzilla has other people who come and help him, other creatures who come and help him. Mothra is a good one. He comes and helps. And then King Kong later comes and helps. And the people actually offer Kong up to help Godzilla defeat other creatures. In one of them, there's a electronic Godzilla that they've created, like a robot Godzilla to try and stop Godzilla. Yeah. I'm telling you, Brandon, this is the best franchise for you. Because
no, this is getting worse and worse with every sentence.
you have to.
Why?
What you have to do is you have to suspend your disbelief and just kind of go with it, because, like you said, this is an escape, and an escape where none of this could possibly happen. But it's so fun to watch. And
Jared thinks it's going to happen.
Jeremiah, you hit the nail on the head, and I'm reminded of Orson Welles reading War of the Worlds over the radio, and half the population thinking that this shit is actually happening and the world is literally crumbling around them, and they're afraid to leave their homes. And it's like people want to believe. There's that wonderful X-Files theme that says, do you believe,
truth is out there,
or you dare to believe, or whether
the truth is out there. Yeah.
People want to believe. They want to wonder whether underneath the ocean there is a 900-foot lizard that's full of radioactive material that just can breathe fire and
that is my greatest fear. Seriously, like it fucking scares me to even think of the ocean, because we have not even gone even close to what is in the ocean. Okay, I'm just fucking saying. You call me a conspiracy, whatever. Yeah. I just think there's something in those waters, man. I'm just fucking just calling it out.
And it's purposely hidden, saying, and I think there's even theories that say, hey, we've only researched 5 to 10% of the ocean, right?
I'm serious.
Like there's
Godzilla can be out
areas that we can't get to, and then there's themes that we can't explain. There's depths that's like, how are things alive down there when technically it should crush it?
3.5 Men on Men.
I mean, I read an article.
There we go.
Perfect.
I read an article a couple of days ago where they drilled under the ice caps. They drilled through 14 or 18 miles down under the ice caps, and they found shit living there. Like creatures living under the ice cap. Like, what is going on here?
What are you eating to stay alive?
It takes one fucking person to think, oh, I'm going to actually discover something. Just release hell on earth.
We can't even get to the Titanic safely, so we're not going anywhere.
Well, unless you're James Cameron. Brandon, so can I ask you just one thing? Can you not just have fun for a minute? Like when you're watching a movie, can you not just like let yourself go and be like, oh, look, there's a 900-foot lizard destroying San Francisco or Tokyo, and be like, you know what? I'm gonna relish in a couple things. Number one, that they did a halo jump around him and they marked their descent with red. They basically told Godzilla where these guys were.
Listen
coming out of the airplane. Which was arguably one of the coolest scenes of the movie.
That's the best scene of this whole fucking movie.
No, listeners can't see this, but here's to God. I swear, I'm sitting on my couch and I'm watching on the big screen, and every 3 seconds I found my face contorting to some new form of what? No. Oh my God. Seriously? Like literally my face was just going through acrobatics. It was just like, it's just, what's new? What's next? What's next? And listen, I'm going to go ahead and spoil one of two things. I told you guys off mic, 2 things that I liked about this movie. And when he decides to just grab the bad guy, grab the bad Muto and open its mouth and just expel all of that lightning, thunder, molten lava straight down the dude's throat and just deep throat that shit. I'm just sitting there going,
you cheered.
I literally went,
fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yes. That's honest to God. That was my response right there. And I actually,
that was a little child inside of you, Brandon. That was a little child inside of you going, let me out.
Exactly.
Let me out and play for 1 minute. 1 minute.
That was so cool. That was so cool.
The husband, right? The husband mopped away. Bitch slapped him. And this is like, yeah, get the motherfucker out of the way.
That was dope. That was dope.
God, I can't believe. You know what?
Sean, you briefed on it a little bit, but that scene, I don't know what it was. I got so hyped with that scene when all the soldiers are in the plane. It reminded me a little bit of Call of Duty. Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, a little bit.
And then it reminded me also of Star Trek. A piece of it was Star Trek when they're falling down in the sky and you can't hear anything. You can only look at your left and your right and you see your other friends are still alive. And then you just see them growing different layers and layers and layers. It's so quiet and peaceful, but it's like this weird, like I'm so enjoying this scene, and it was a beautiful scene. Personally, I really enjoyed that scene.
To add what Eddie's saying, dude, like I didn't see this movie in the theaters. Like I've seen the rest of the Godzilla except for the newest one that just came out. But I remember so well when I saw the first trailer of Godzilla, and it was a teaser, and it was that scene where the soldiers jumping out of the airplane, and the music was like a horror film. And I was just like, what the fuck is this? And they're like falling into what it looks like hell on earth, right? And you're just like, what is it? It's like a battle going on, all these monsters. And then you hear the original Godzilla's roar. When I was like, holy shit, I want to see this movie.
Right.
That was one of the best scenes of the movie, I thought, dude. I just wish there was more of that scene, more of that vibe into this movie, because that was sick, dude.
And that's what he tried to do. And I think that he succeeded 45% maybe of the time. So if you throw out the fact that a giant lizard is attacking a city and the mass destruction, and then you have the other Mutos, and you just kind of realize that's what a Godzilla movie is. It's monsters fighting monsters and mass destruction. The job of a Godzilla movie is to make us care about the characters. And I think that he successfully did that, especially in the opening sequence when Julia Ormond is running down the hallway, and they've had a breach of radioactive material, and Bryan Cranston is standing there. And Bryan Cranston is one of I don't particularly like him, but there is no doubt that he's one of the best actors out there right now. Oh. He is just phenomenal. And the look on his face, like you could feel that he was losing everything right in front of him. And I'm ashamed to say that, I think that he failed to really capitalize on that moment, because that moment was great when he clicks the button and the door closes, and then she's looking through the glass, and it's like that's a beautiful movie moment. That's a Star Trek Spock search, or Wrath of Khan spot, Wrath of Khan scene. I mean, that's historically a wonderful scene in movies. But what he didn't do is he didn't capitalize it with the son. He made the son angry. He made the relationship strained. They could have done so much more with that moment, and they just did.
We just did Indiana Jones, right? And The Last Crusade. And you could have had more of like the father-son story with it, trying to find together, and with like this whole monster situation. I think that it would have been really like a really wrapped up, strong of a story if they would have able to gone that route. Yeah.
So listen, first off, I'm gonna fix what all you listeners have heard. It is not Julia Ormond, who we all love. It is Juliette Binoche, but Juliette Binoche.
Oh, it's Juliette Binoche. I'm so sorry.
Herself. No, but here's one I'm going to be okay. So this is what I was going to say just a minute ago, and it's going to lead into my next thing. But one of the reasons why I absolutely love doing this podcast, besides the fact that I get to hang out with you guys every week, is that you guys allow, I'm not going to say force, but you allow me to see movies that I would absolutely never in my life watch. And so I do appreciate the fact that I get to see movies like this. Now, going from positive
Same to
the
you,
negative.
Buddy.
Donnie Darko was amazing.
Vanilla fucking Sky.
Good one. Listeners, help me out. Just go download it. I don't care if you listen to it. Just download it. All right.
Listeners, just see every so often. Pick a movie out and see if it's Brandon's. Just let us know.
Just be like, why the fuck did they do that? Oh, it's Brandon. Okay.
That's Brandon's.
Listen. But no, what I do want to say is it's going to more of the critical aspect, and critical meaning, really kind of diving into this movie. You said that what we need to do is we need to care about the characters for a movie like this to work. And I think that we do with one character. I think that we care about Bryan Cranston. I think that I agree with you. He is not my favorite actor at all, but damn it, he rivets you with his emotional depth, and he commands the screen 100%. I don't know if it's because he was so commanding, or if the other actors just were not to the par, or if the writing was off. I don't know what it was. But I tell you what, Aaron Taylor Johnson, who I'm not really well versed in, Elizabeth Olsen, who, again, not super well versed in, I thought that they were boring. I had no interest in watching them. I didn't care about their story. I didn't care whether they survived or whether they died. I didn't care about that. And it became this focus so much on the Mutos and what's going on with that I missed the character building. I missed that character development, Eddie. And I don't know if was it me or was it you guys? Did you feel that they were well written and well acted, or not?
I'm a big fan of both actors, Aaron and Elizabeth, and I just don't think the writing was just like up to par for them to like hold this up. Because if you've seen other movies, they're fucking beasts in other movies and everything like that. I mean, Aaron Taylor Johnson might be the next James Bond, probably, but I just think that, the movie is mostly focused on the monsters part of it, of the aspect. And the movie didn't know how to balance between that part and the characters that we're focusing on.
And that's what I thought too. I just want to make sure I'm not alone. Yeah.
No, you're not
alone. No, you're not alone. It was almost, it seemed that I get a lot of people always saying the moment where this movie messed up a little bit is where they killed off Bryan Cranston.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, it was just like, bro, you had something going on here.
Yep.
Something special.
I think this is also Bryan Cranston when he was at the top of his game. This is when Breaking Bad was finishing up, and it had like he was well known at this time. This is 2014, 2013 is when it wrapped up with Breaking Bad. So he had a little bit of like fan base around him, and he delivered in this first opening scene. It reminded me of like a Drew Barrymore. Like, why did you kill him off? A little bit, like, but it was at this time, it was just like I wanted him to stay. I was surprised. It was like that scene. It reminded me of like, oh, this is like a big actor that was supposed to survive the whole movie, and he died off.
Yeah,
and I think it was actually his fault. I think that he kind of was cashing in a little bit on his
name.
On his name. I think he did this for a lot of it for a paycheck, and I think that he didn't want to go through this grueling shoot, and he kind of, because I remember reading about this movie when it was coming out and being like, Bryan Cranston is in it, but he doesn't sound committed to it. He doesn't sound like he's a big part of it. And I agree, because I think sometimes the writers have to work around demands or I mean, it took Lucas a lot of time to convince Harrison Ford to come back for Empire Strikes Back and Return of Jedi, and not to kill Han Solo. I think that, other people don't have that power, right, to say no. And so if he would have been able to survive, I think the movie would have been better. Even if they just continued the same storyline, I think that the relationship between son and father would have been better. It would have, getting him home to see his grandchildren and having that that would have been a really much more compelling
I'm going to pull a Sean here, and I don't normally pull Sean's, but Sean, I feel like at this point in our journey down 3.5 Gentlemen, you are known for rewriting stories of what they should have done. So I'm not going to give a what they should have done, but just imagine this movie, right? Is drop the son angle, because I just think it's a little overplayed. I think it's a little bit sentimental. I think it's a little melodramatic, and instead turn it not into a buddy cop movie by any means. But imagine the story they could have had if they focused on Bryan Cranston and Ken Watanabe's character and how they develop and they create this bond, and then maybe bring in David Strathairn, who we've talked about with Sneakers, is just one of the all-time great actors. You have the three of them. Three of them kind of come together. I mean, you have these middle-aged older guys who, I mean, you almost get this Space Cowboys-esque concept of these older middle, where they come together and that becomes the central human focus. I think that would have worked so much better. I think I'm just tired of the overplayed trope of father-son dynamic, and it's really a story about them bonding. But then, I mean, this wasn't really that. It was about dad dying and son taking the mantle.
I'm with you, Brand. I think that would have been a more whole story. And this is my criticism of monster movies and the movies that you're talking about, like these big destruction movies. You had mentioned earlier, I don't remember if it was on or off mic, that you like Independence Day, right?
Yes.
Independence Day. Well, Independence Day has 7 storylines running congruently, all of which get resolved, all of which are good, and you like all the characters, and you care when they die, and you have, it's very complex. This movie did not have that complexity, and I think that's where these type of movies don't quite live up. Now, that being said, I don't mean to be hypercritical, because this, if you look at the pantheon of Godzilla movies, is a 0 if we were judging it against all other Godzilla movies.
This hit the mark. When this came out, people were like, holy shit, Godzilla's bad.
Interesting. Yeah, Jared?
Right.
Oh, after the first week when it was released, it made so much money, dude. Like, it literally actually spawned 1, but 2 sequels right away, man. And they were like, oh my God, there's people out there that want to be a part of this world and everything like that. But to what Sean's talking about, dude, like, I agree, man. If you would have done this movie in a way where you just were focusing on different characters and somehow they all like kind of like combine, like, like a Pulp Fiction type of story, like, they're all like, boom. Like, everything comes in the final.
That's the thing, is that Elizabeth Olsen got no screen time. right?
Yeah.
I mean, she got no screen time, and I don't know if it was left on the cutting room floor or what it was. But I'm looking at my notes here, and one of the words that I see just stands out is it's just disjointed as hell, right? It's here and then it's here and it's here, but we don't have enough time to develop any of those things. And again, I think that you're absolutely right. It's not the movie that they're trying to make. It's the movie that I wish they had made, because then we would care. I mean, I would care about what happens to Aaron Taylor Johnson. What I'm trying to remember.
I will say one of the criticisms of these type of movies, and I would call this a legacy movie, where the IP is very guarded, right? And 1990. I mean, so think about this: the last Godzilla try was in 1999, 1998, and it was a disaster. It was a complete disaster.
Well, the other movies that since Godzilla 1998 came out, right? You had King Kong, which it didn't really do much in the box office. It did okay, right?
But then you had after effect with that one.
Yeah, but then you have those Pacific Rims movies, and then you have Cloverfield, and so you have all these monster movies that kind of just they tried and they never actually made it happen. This one did kind of hey, check this one out,
Yeah, remember the Dark Universe tried to get going with the Mummy, and it never quite made it. This one was like, hey, we're gonna try a Godzilla verse and see how it works, and then it actually okay, people have an appetite for this. Now let's get on our game and make it something better. But I do think that this IP particularly is very controlled by the studio, because if you look at something like Gareth Edwards directing Rogue One, which I think is one of the greatest directed movies ever made.
Ever made.
I think it's clear that the studio had some control over this movie to mild it out, to make it a little simple, a little because he's not a simple director.
No, he's not.
And you can see the threads of a lot of really cool storylines that seem abandoned. It seemed like he just kind of... Yes. I don't know. Is it just me, or it just seemed like studio?
No, that's exactly my criticism.
Talent. Seriously, he has the talent, because if you watch this independent movie he did before this movie, it was called Monsters, and it was actually a really independent film. Well, alien invasion happened in the Earth, but it doesn't focus on the alien invasion. It focuses on the people and how they have to just kind of figure out how to live through that. And you see in the background shadows of what's happening, but they don't focus on that. I think he just has the talent to do a lot of cool things. And you see this in this movie.
Yeah,
I agree. And the other thing I will say is, as far as Godzilla is concerned and the VFX, it was nice to see always Godzilla shrouded in mist or hidden, or because it really brought back. And I know I'm a fan of old movies, right? I love movies from the 50s and 40s, and I remember the 1954 version. And
he was the 1890s.
So bad. He was so bad that they had to hide him in every scene. He was hidden partially behind buildings, or, he was always coming out of something, and you never got a full on shot of Godzilla. And I felt like this was an homage to that type of filmmaking where, even though we have the VFX, even though we can make Godzilla do literally anything we want, he's still going to be this mysterious character lurking in the shadows. And only when we've established our universe are we going to really let him run. And he did. To me, it was very interesting what character they created, because you actually had sympathy for him. You wanted him to win at the end. And
the funny thing is, I care about her or him more than the humans. I think that's right. And if that's the goal, then I think that they succeed with that. My frustration is constantly coming back to this idea that shouldn't have been the goal, right? That we should ground this in some kind of a human-centered story that we could then follow along with Godzilla.
Did anyone get upset about Aaron Taylor Johnson's character? Somehow okay, how do you get to Japan and then you get to Hawaii and then you get you're always how the fuck?
That's in my note.
You get to all these.
It's a teleporter,
and then all of a sudden you're in the plane and you're parachuting. And you have to be able to
talk yourself into being the team Navy team SEAL 6 when
And he was a bomb specialist. Like
Eddie,
he was a
Eddie.
that's what artillery
like, who knows
specialist.
anything about bombs? And he's like, I do. I sure know. No, that's exactly what I have. His globe trotting in a movie is fine, but this is just fucked up. Like there is so much back and forth. And this goes along with that disjointed storytelling. And how much time are we really spending here? Because San Francisco would be more than obliterated at this point.
But dude, the ending of the movie is the greatest, right? He saves, the city. He was able to detonate the bomb, and then the next scene, somehow he found his kid, and he's walking his kid into like fucking the stadium.
Yeah,
and you're like, well, what happened to that story? How did he find his kid? I would have liked to know more about that.
And he's limping
So,
around.
How
too.
the hell did he get saved?
Well, I will say this too. One of the things about this franchise that I have come to respect that was born out of this is the devastation is a catalyst. So all the stories come off of like what happened in this movie, and this movie creates like the spurs of all the other stories.
Yeah.
So if you look at a show like Monarch on Apple Plus, who if Apple Plus wants to, go ahead and sponsor us, we can absolutely do that. But so that show goes between the 1950s to the 1970s to the 1990s. It goes through the years, and it shows kind of how Monarch has been monitoring all these creatures, and they have all these stations, and all of it is kind of from this movie. So you can kind of say like, this movie was the catalyst for all other storylines, which I think is a very good way to create a universe.
So this is what you're saying is this is why you should live in Nebraska and not a city, because it's always happening to a city. What I want to see is them like literally laying waste to the plains.
Well, there would be no. I mean, what is Godzilla going to do in in
corn,
Wisconsin, like
cheese,
or the hills of Wyoming where there's 15 people.
He likes to sleep in the water, Brandon. Okay.
Hey,
amazing.
those monsters were in the like Area 51 or like in the mountains or something like that. So they all have their own little like places to come out.
Independence Day taught me that. That's true,
Brandon. Just so you know, I mean, if you're following the story, you would know this, but I know you don't actually follow these movies. But the reason that they're always going after the city is because that's where all the radioactive material is. So they thrive on the radioactive material. So they're not going to go.
Well, if we're bringing it back to episode 1 of season 5, if we bring it back to episode 1, we should be going to New Mexico next, and we should be Trinity bomb site. That. Anybody? Oppenheimer.
They show that the bomb did kind of cause Godzilla in a way when you think about it. So it does go back to episode 1
it came from
of
a
season
parallel
5.
universe.
And no, but it does come from I should have said parallel universe. I should have said like subterranean, like sub-Earth core universe, like Journey to the Center of the Earth. That's exactly Jeremiah said it better than I did. Journey to the Center of the Earth. But if you look at it, they went to Vegas, because there was bombs out there. How nuclear testing in Nevada is notorious, and Godzilla. He thrives on nuclear energy. So that's why he's in the ocean. He gets all this nuclear energy from submarines and from all this different shit,
And what's really cool about how they designed this Godzilla here is that, this one had the scars from, the radiation and the nuclear bombs, just as the original had. The 1954 one was based off of
Hiroshima and Nagasaki bomb.
Hiroshima.
You brought that back and paid homage to the original Godzilla on that. I thought that was really cool.
They even mentioned, I think they mentioned that too in the movie. They're saying that he's been around for a while, and they try to they hid it. The world hid it up, was hiding it, what was really going on.
Well, and that's what the show covers, which is really fun, by the way. Just
Sean, we're doing this movie. We're doing this movie, not the damn TV show.
So the villain, though, I don't know, it's something about the villain made me feel like, okay, Godzilla's way fucking more powerful than this moth. Is that just? I mean, that's just me. Like, I don't know.
Well, the only difference is because Godzilla can breathe electrical fire something, right? Where this one doesn't have it. I actually thought that, and I'm going to go ahead and defend it.
The mind flare?
I thought that the design of the mind flayers, especially the one with wings, because that all through. But I thought it actually was really, really good. I thought that, it was something different than just a lizard. And I am not well versed. I am the half, obviously, in this episode.
Or some type of
And the second one is
see,
the
I thought it
Hydra.
was
It's got
okay.
3 heads. Yeah, it's. I mean, they kind of up the stakes in every
The
movie.
King of Monsters,
They
the
go Percy
second one,
Jackson, huh?
it literally it does like the MVPs of all monsters and shit like that. You really get like the greatest ones from like the Godzilla thing. It's great action, monsters versus monsters. The story kind of sucks and everything, but don't worry about that. You just want to see, destruction again. That's all you care about.
So after the first bomb,
The story is a bad divorce.
So after the first bomb we threw at the mind flare, I'm going to keep calling it mind flare, or the praying mantis, and we see it pretty much just eat it like a freaking Tic Tac, and we're like, oh, let's just throw a bigger one at it. Like that's where.
Well, this is what's so funny, and it's like find a different way.
Yes.
Like all these, it's consistent throughout all the Godzilla movies ever made and this franchise. It's like, oh, a bigger and better bomb will do it. It's like, no, bitches, it's what got us into the problem in the first place.
Against
Like,
society, against nature, you're never going to win.
That's where I was just like, oh, okay, come on, let's be smart here, guys. Let's try some fire. I don't know, something else.
Yeah. Freeze it to death. God. No, does it? Okay. So here's another one of my moments. And that is the whole purpose of Aaron Taylor Johnson's character, who is there to defuse the bomb. When they get to the bomb, they're like, fuck, this ain't happening. So they cart that damn thing off, making him completely irrelevant. Yet at some point, he's the only one left on that ship. And he's able to not defuse the bomb like he was brought on. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you've got this paratrooper who's going to be like, I've got you. And all of a sudden, we're playing Toy Story's claw game.
Him this
and
whole
we
time.
pull him out. And then they fly. Then they fly him out just as the fucking nuclear bomb goes off. He had zero purpose in the entire movie. Just like, did you see Olsen save anybody as a nurse?
He did have zero purpose. He moved the bomb into a safe zone for it to blow up. What are you talking about? It would have killed.
Not the other soldiers who were just like, I saw.
He turned on the ship and he moved the ship.
Listen, we want to talk about, what they bigger bomb. What I love is that they saw the bigger bomb not working. They're like, let me grab my AK-47 and start pew, 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 pew. And it doesn't do a damn thing. Like at that point, run the fuck away. But no, I was just sitting there going, what is his purpose?
It's kind of like the Transformers movies when the humans get involved and they want to like try to shoot guns at Megatron. I'm like, bitch, what are you gonna do? They're machines ripping each other apart, and you're gonna be like, pew 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 pew.
That will get him. Good job.
Yeah, maybe I can get them in their eye, right? Like. He's a dragon.
Listen, if we go back to our first Zero movie, Saving Private Ryan, I remember the end. Tom Hanks's character blew up that fucking tank with a little pistol.
But he
for a half a second, I believed it. I was like, no shit. Whoa,
we all thought that, didn't we? We're like, wow, he's got a really powerful pistol.
Yeah. That was like a hell yeah fucking scene. These scenes here when they were just on that boat, the rest of the soldiers with the bomb, just firing their little 30 bullets at this giant, mosquito. I was just like, no one wants to just jump off the ship and just say, you know what, we're not going to beat this guy this way.
Yeah, I'm good.
Dude, okay, just to let you know, I hate bridges with a passion of 1,000 suns and shit because I just don't feel comfortable being on bridges. But that scene when Godzilla is coming through to the Golden Gate Bridge.
Oh, wow.
Dude, that is some scary shit, dude. Like, to me, I thought that last part of the movie was the best part of the movie for me because I just thought, okay, this is the chance for like everyone finally get a chance to see it in live and not in darkness, and you see like this beast. Again, this is what really scares the shit out of me in life and whatnot. But dude, imagine to be on a fucking bridge and there's this fucking wave and this beast coming at you. I literally got like, seriously, like anxiety was attacking my shit on that when I was watching this scene, dude.
See, for me, what I think worked in the movie, and I know you can be critical of a lot of different things, and we have been, but what worked for me in the movie overall was that at no point did I think, oh, this is, for the genre, this is so silly and stupid. It fit the genre. It was respectful of the genre. It worked within the genre. Yeah. And at no point did I they have the stupid punchlines. Like, I felt like every time you want to revitalize a genre, you hire The Rock, and The Rock has like 7 lines of, punched him or whatever it is. And like
Jason Momoa just going like, yeah, hell yeah, my man.
Yeah, my man. you didn't have that foolishness. It was more like, we're going to take this movie a little bit more seriously, even though it's a ridiculous premise. Like, we know it's ridiculous, but we're going to take it a little bit more seriously and ridiculous. Create something kind of special. And I think that's what they did. And I think that for the genre, I think they did it pretty well.
Well, I don't think it's ridiculous. What's the first thing about writing shit, Brandon? What was the thing where they teach you? Write what you know. People are writing some shit what they know about, man. It's out there. I'm just saying.
So you're saying that they know giant reptiles and
I'm just saying, dude. It's happening.
They do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That brings us to the end of a review. Now it's time of the podcast where each of the hosts provides a score on the following scale. The king of monsters. You provide our scale. You provide a score, please.
0, the perfect movie. You don't need shit to enjoy it. 1, a feel-good first cocktail. 2, a happy buzz. 3, an Uber lifting home. 4, rough morning walk of shame. 5, blackout shit-faced spring break drunk.
Brandon was just like, you know what? Fuck this. Fuck
this. This
you.
is between
a
perfect movie and something.
Oh, sorry.
I want to see Brandon's face. He looked up like, oh my God.
I will say this. I think that for just keeping this in mind, for a Godzilla movie, this motherfucker's a 0.
Which makes my score that much more of a fall from grace.
Okay, well, ready, Eddie, set, go.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I mean, we're all kind of close.
Wait. Jeremiah, is that 2 different numbers or the same number twice?
Yeah, it's the same number twice. It's just, I was just being cute. But it's just really
3 divided by 3, that's
you
1.
You really confused me with the cute.
So. Brandon, go first.
Oh, okay. We'll start off with this. So I think that you have a lot to say. In fact, you guys actually brought my score down, surprisingly. I thought that this could be up there with my 5s that I threw. I think at Die Hard. I can't remember what it was. But anyway, Halloween, I know that much. But listen, what I get what you guys are saying. I understand that this is a genre film, and this is just a genre that I don't dabble in. I don't like. I don't frequent. It's similar to why I've never seen a Transformers movie, and I probably won't see Transformers movie. It's just because I know that it's not my jam. It's not something I'm going to enjoy.
Accepted.
Destruction.
Just what we're doing next
Destruction.
He's like, no,
I know.
Oh, no.
Listen, I would rather watch Transformers than another fucking Marvel movie. That's all I'm saying. But no, I know for a fact that I just don't like destruction on a mass level. It has nothing to do with anything more than the fact that I want it to have some kind of a focus on human characters. And if they could have done that more, if they could have, again, like I was saying, taken the Cranston and the Watanabe character and made this a story about their development as friends or coming together from 2 opposite ends of the monarch spectrum or whatever it was, I think I would have had a whole new appreciation for it, even with Godzilla destroying, San Francisco. But because we didn't have that, because we had 2 human actors who are very, very talented actors from the little bit that I do know of them, and I didn't give a shit about either of them. In fact, at times I forgot Elizabeth Olsen was in the movie. Aaron Taylor Johnson was just a complete, I'm going to say, a waste of potential. Because of that, I feel like the movie didn't do what it could have done and didn't do what it needed to do. And so for that, I'm giving it a 4.2. It is a rough morning walk of shame. There is as I'm walking and stumbling home, I'm taking a shot and deciding what I should do with my life. So it's a 4.2 for me. Eddie.
So this is a movie that I want to say this. It was personally, I feel like it was a coming out party for Elizabeth Olsen and what's the other guy's name?
Aaron Taylor Johnson.
I think it was. Look at their movie list at this same year. This is where they got big hit movies compared to before this. It was lower movies. And it's kind of interesting that they both were in the same Winter Soldier same year, 2014. So it's like they just were kind of hit the same nail on the head. I think they bit off a little bit more than they realized, and it became a bigger theme for them, which is like, hey, it blew up their careers in a nice way. They became the it people right after this movie because they were like, oh, Winter Soldier, Marvel was on the high of the peak with this. And then, hey, guess what? Godzilla, they're in this movie too. I agree. Elizabeth Olsen wasn't in as much as I would like. And then the storyline was all over the place. I wish Bryan Cranston was in it a little bit longer. But this, like Sean was saying, Godzilla, when you get Godzilla movies, this hit everything I needed for a Godzilla movie for me. Like, I was very, very pleased with the movie. I wanted more scenes with Godzilla, with the soldiers, if that's what made sense, with maybe like other bombs throughout the city, and maybe having like crews. I feel like the humans aren't doing anything, and it became just like the monsters versus monsters. So I get that, Brandon, and that's why honestly my score is a little bit higher than originally, but it did bring it down with like I was happy with the Godzilla. You know, like Sean was saying, it's a 0 for Godzilla movies, but out of all movies, it lacked certain things with character development. So that's why I'm giving it a 2.95.
So that's a happy buzz, almost an Uber, but not quite.
Right below it, yeah. I mean, you know, my bartender messed up a little bit and he spilled my drink. I'm right below a Uber lifting home.
Hey, I'll go after you, Eddie. I think this movie had a lot of potential to it, man. Like, I'll leave it at this, man. This one had a fantastic intro, beginning of a movie, and then it also had a final battle, final ending for it. You know, it's just the middle. I just wasn't really about it. It was like the Adventures of Waldo and shit like that. You know, you just kind of got you just lose your interest. Oh, I lost my interest during like most of the time. You know, I love the monsters in the movie. I think that Edwards is a fantastic director. I think he has the, you know, that it factor, you know. I just wish he would have done more of like the original concept of like what he did with his indie movie before this movie, like, you know, focus on more of the characters. And like the worst part about the movie is that they killed the heartbeat of the movie, and that was Bryan Cranston. He died so early in the movie. Like, he was the heartbeat, you know. You could have had a beautiful story about a father and a son, you know, coming together, you know, in the worst times and things like that. And it just didn't happen. So it's not the worst movie I've ever seen. It's not the best movie I've ever seen. But you know what? What it did launch a cool, like, monster universe type of a way that we could watch more movies like this, which I totally love and respect. But it's not even an average movie for me, man. Yeah, I'm Ubering lifting home, you know.
That's a 3, right, Jeremiah?
Yeah,
it's a 3 Uber lifting home, guys.
So, 1954, Godzilla changed the way movies were filmed. You know, you had a cavalcade of monster movies that followed. Some great, some just terrible. But you know, you have certain movies in your mind. If you're an old movie lover like me, King Kong, Godzilla, there's this massive chasm between cinema for cinema's sake, like Martin Scorsese cinema, and then movies. And it's still cinema, but it's not quite Godfather. It's something else. And this is the something else category. And what I love about this film is it revolutionized or revitalized a genre that was all but dead. You know, they had tried in 2005 with King Kong, and it was a follow-up to Lord of the Rings. Everybody wanted it to be great. Everybody wanted it to be epic, and it just didn't quite get there where you wanted it to be.
Bad timing too.
And that was way more character-driven than, you know, something like this movie. But this movie kind of opened the floodgates. And yes, it spawned this massive, very successful franchise of Godzilla movies, all of which are kind of the same. They're not quite good. They're not bad. They're mediocre, but they are exciting, and people like exciting and new. So, you know, this gives it a new breath of life to a genre that was all but dead. And that's exciting to me because I love when science fiction is reborn. Dune did this to science fiction. All of a sudden, you know, we have a new outlook on what science fiction is. War of the Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet, you know, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. We have actual science fiction being perpetrated on the screen that's watchable and good. And we don't have to rely on the 1970s and 80s, you know, shit fests to propel our love of science fiction. And I mean, that's the truth. That's the truth. And so it's these type of movies that make me hopeful that in the future we're going to get something even greater. And so I look at this as being very important to cinema, very important to movies. And for that reason, I give it probably a higher or a lower score than it should. I'm going to give it a 2.5. That isn't to say that this movie is fantastic by any stretch of imagination. It is certainly good for this type of movie, but it's still an average movie. And 2.5 is our average, so that's where I'm at.
Nice, Sean.
All right, when you take those scores and combine them by 4, we get an average rating of Mr. Jeremiah.
Well,
I don't know.
It gives us a 3.1625. We've only done 125 episodes.
It's a shitty script. I don't know what to tell you.
3.1625. That's 3.1625. I think it's in the class of its own.
I love how Jeremiah just says, "I don't know. This is not my job."
Eddie knows, but I don't know.
That's Eddie's
So,
job.
I'm only showing the damn score.
I just put the
That's it.
scores into our list.
3.1625. So Jeremiah, where does that put us on the list of films that we have reviewed?
Yes,
thus
70
Oh.
something.
Yeah, actually, Eddie hit the nail on the head right there, man. It is number 70. Shit you not.
So what is better than?
So what's better than Godzilla is Tron Legacy, The Ring, V for Vendetta, 300, Troy, Vanilla Sky, Age of Adeline.
Oh, Vanilla Sky. Ugh.
Oh, say that. Wait. Can you say those last two just one more time?
That one hurt.
Those
right
all
there,
the movies are number 3, like in the threes. Is that what you're bragging right
Those
now?
are all 69.
Brandon, I knew this wasn't great, and I picked it. Are you suggesting that you're? I mean,
Weird
I
defense
knew what
you're
type of
fighting
movie
right now,
this
Brandon.
was.
Just let you know.
This is not a Lawrence of Arabia. Anyway, what's worse than
Lawrence of Arabia is.
This is 40, Armageddon, It, Halloween, Vertigo, Space Cowboys,
Yep.
and Brandon's personal favorite, Point Break.
All right.
Oh,
It is where it should be, I suppose.
We graded harder back in the day. Now we're doing soft.
we really did. We are getting so soft.
Bro, you went to 2.95. I'm like, well, you could have gone to 3, man.
I want to put it on his own little boat.
You could have got the one at 3.1.
I like the whole jump out of the plane.
3.05.
The jump out of the plane is like, yep.
That scene was
Went down
the
a
shit.
little bit
I agree.
because of that scene.
Yeah, that scene was the shit.
It has some great features to it. It has some really cool scenes. And I think the music was really cool, but
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Jeremiah.
Now that we're at the end of the podcast episode, it's time for one of our gentlemen to tell us which movie we'll be watching and reviewing next week. Since Brandon has the next selection, Brandon, what are we watching and why?
Can't wait for this one.
Wait, hold on. Let me just give our audience some satisfaction and do what they're doing.
What are we watching and why?
They're probably thinking, who's after Brandon?
Let me tell you.
Oh, God. How can we skip
Who
this
is Brandon
one?
setting
Anyway,
up?
maybe they'll have an audio
This is your
malfunction
bye
and not be
week.
able to record.
This is your week. This is your bye week. This is your week of rest.
This is when the Angels
worked hard.
play like fucking Kansas City Royals or something.
Yeah.
Like, oh fuck, I gotta go to this game.
Oh, it's a
So
freeway
let me
series.
just tell you guys, since you guys are such pieces of shit, I actually went out of my way and did a deep dive into IMDb for you guys and our listeners, because I said the last thing that I want is me to get one of my brilliant little indie, no name, beautiful, perfectly made movies to throw your way. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to do something that I haven't done in a while, and that is to find a movie that is quote unquote popular. So I said, you know what, I could
You don't have to put quotes around
do
it,
an
Brandon.
Elizabeth Olsen.
You don't have to put quotes around popular. They're either
No, I'm
popular
going
or
to say
they're not.
popular.
What the hell does that mean?
They're popular. Well, because for other people, they're popular. But this is a weird one because this is a movie that is not taking an actor or an actress. This is not taking a director. It's not taking a composer. It is doing something which is what I, if you have listened to this podcast, know absolutely love. And that is I love the cinematographic nature of film. I love the visuals. And so that means that I love the director of photography. I love the cinematographer. And the cinematographer for this is Seamus McGarvey. And Seamus McGarvey is responsible for some of the, what I would say are some of the best movies that we've had in the last 20 years, including one of my favorite movies, Atonement. But I'm not going to go ahead and give you Atonement because that's just too damn depressing. So instead, what I thought we'd do is we would take it back to one of my favorite movies, which is Pulp Fiction, and kind of a spin-off of the style of Pulp Fiction, and that would be 2018's Bad Times at the El Royale, which is director of cinematography or director of photography is Seamus McGarvey. So we are going to be taking a look at Bad Times at the El Royale, which means that, Eddie, you are after me, and I have set you up with a plethora. I have set you up with a banquet of different actors and actresses to choose from,
Directors,
an,
writers,
director and writer to
cinematographers,
choose
music.
from. I'm just fucking saying,
I am
Eddie,
just
you
going
are
to say,
welcome.
Brandon, I do think that you ought to just take a moment and look up popular in the dictionary, and you won't find Bad Times at the El Royale.
I mean, a lot happier than
yes, I
you
will.
set me up with sneakers. I'm not gonna lie.
This is a 7.1 compared to some of my other 5s. So this is good. IMDb.
I am really looking forward.
165,000 users have actually reviewed this on IMDb. So that is a lot of people. Actually, usually it's like
let me just ask you real quick.
Sneakers have 50,000.
Yeah. There it is. So let me ask you this. Sean, I know that you have seen it because you were actually the one who said, Brandon, have you seen Bad Times at the El Royale? This was years and years ago, probably about 2018. Yeah. So my brothers, have you guys seen it? That's my question. I can't see you guys not having seen this movie.
I have never seen this.
Which baffles the literally shit out of me. So in that case, I'm just going to say this. Ready? You're welcome.
Me and Hannah, we literally downloaded this movie and we were about to start it and we just never got a chance to watch it. So
well, there you go.
You know what? You get to finally watch it. Now you got to watch it.
I will say, it's a fun. It's gonna be a fun podcast.
It's a fun romp.
It's a fun movie. It's just something that like you said, it's somewhere between Pulp Fiction and something you've never watched before. So it's very exciting. I'm looking forward to it. I love Jeff Bridges. Yes. I love Chris Hemsworth. I love John Hamm. The cast is phenomenal. The plot is twisty and it's good.
Drew Goddard, that's fucking amazing. And I actually like this guy a lot. He did a lot of Lost.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. This is one of those movies where it's like it should have been more popular in theaters. It should have been more popular with.
It should have been in the dictionary.
I was just giving you a hard time. I actually like this movie.
It's a really good movie.
All right, so next week we've got Bad Times at the El Royale. If you enjoyed our review or a fan of the podcast, we ask you please subscribe wherever you're listening. Give us a 5-star review wherever you'll get your podcasts. You can find us on Instagram at @the.gentlemanpodcast. You can visit our website. And if you want to reach out to us, you can do so by email at hosts with an S, HOSTS @thegentlemanpodcast.com. We want to thank you all for listening. We've seen an incredible boom in our listenership in the last couple of weeks. We reached a personal, not a personal, a group goal and one of Jeremy's personal goals. So that's very exciting.
Pretty excited actually, listeners. Yeah. So I mean, I'm not going to tell you guys, but I told these guys like in the beginning of the podcast, like, we actually reached this number. I can fucking just be like, that's it. I'm done. But I'm not done because I want another number.
Listen,
I said, how we just moved the goalpost.
I remember looking at Jeremiah and saying, if 2 people that we don't know listens to this podcast, we're a goddamn success. We have surpassed that. So thank you all, listeners. We appreciate you more than you know.
Listeners, grateful. Thank you for sharing us with your friends, your families, and everyone, dude. Seriously. Beyond grateful. We get to hang out with each other, and that's the most important thing. Like, we just love, like talking shit and being with each other, but we get to do that and we get to share that with you guys. Awesome. It's all, I can't think of anything better than that.
Eddie, I love you.
Thank you so much.
Cheers, gentlemen.
I know.
Peace out. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, we're going to go rounds and rounds for this one. Bad Times at the